Hey, we're live.
We're live.
There we are. So we should plug this in. Thankfully, no one's on yet.
You want this?
Yes, I do.
And then I'll.
Do, 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 do.
That's why I put this light.
Doesn't get too dark. Could you plug that into? Yes, beer. It is time for beer. It's a little early. We're 2 minutes early. That's because I wanted to set things up. Better be early than late, as they say. Boop, 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 boop. That's the music we're going to sing today. It was,
Does that work for you?
works for me. I don't know. I'm not really the person that you should be asking. Should be the audience. I'm glad I wore green today. That's all I got to say. People are going to be green with envy. So I think the big thing we want to do is to bring up the channel on your laptop, and then we probably be able to answer questions as they come up here. So, where did I put that beer? Oh, over there. Be back. Hi from Australia. That's
Hey.
way early for them.
We're getting set up. Can you hear us okay?
I hope so.
All right, where is the... Yes, great. Perfect. Thank you. Oh, thank you. What is this?
What is what? Oh.
Good morning.
That's a mighty head.
That is a mighty head.
That's because I don't care.
All right, where would I find the stream? Back up.
You should probably just go to our channel and see if we're showing up.
I like our channel.
Hello from beautiful British Columbia. Noon beers. Cheers. That's absolutely right. Hey, it's a long weekend for us. We don't have to work tomorrow.
All right.
Hey, there's me.
Here we go.
Look at that. So we're looking at ourselves over here. We see the chat.
I'm using a laptop over here to keep track of comments.
So if he's looking over there, that's why.
British Columbia. Nice.
Yep. Where I said, and then it was like Columbia, LA. Is that Louisiana in the United States? Argentina's checking in.
Argentina. Sweet.
So this beer that we're drinking right now is the Harvest Ale I made last year. I saved one bottle. I put it in the cellar, the basement, for everyone else doesn't use that word. And this is the last bottle of it.
Interesting. Good.
Yeah, it's
It's pretty easy for it being sit
that's
for
right.
a year.
Yeah. It's not too bad either. I don't remember it all that well. I do remember that it came out well. It was probably the first Harvest Ale that we really knocked the hops out, meaning we did a good job with it. The other Harvest Ales that I made weren't so hoppy. That's what I was trying to say.
Well, it's pretty clean. When I first smelled it, it seemed a little bit. There's like almost like a saison ester to it, quality to it. But it's not overcarbonated, so I think it's still pretty clean.
Yeah. We did put in 2 pounds of hops into that 5-gallon batch, so
Yep.
could be a lot of things going on there.
So I was just thinking today, or I was thinking yesterday, I've got, how much of your hops have you harvested so far? You've done a harvest?
I've done a harvest. I have 3 plants. One of them is Chinook, and so I harvest everything that was on the Chinook vines. And actually, later on today, I'm sorry, we won't be streaming all day today, but what we will be doing is tasting the Chinook smash beer I made 4 gallons of smash beer with the Chinook that I grew in my backyard, so that's pretty cool.
That's nice. Sweet. Yeah, mine are, the vines got so heavy that the twines have broken.
Yes.
And I haven't restrung them up yet. They're just sort of leaning over the top rail. Mine grow from the ground up to a second level, like deck. So they're leaning over the top, and I've been feeling the hops. I think they're just about ready to go. So either this afternoon or probably tomorrow morning, I think I'll get out there and just going to pick them all. And I have 2 plants. I've got a Columbus and a Nugget, but they've interwoven like so. I'm gonna I think I'm just gonna
Collect
I'm gonna
everything
just
you can.
pick them all into
Yeah.
one big bucket
Yeah.
and dry them out, and it'll just be
Nice.
a blend of homegrown Nugget Columbus hops.
Awesome, dude.
And maybe next year I'll worry about trying to either put them in different locations or separate them more, or just be more vigilant about not letting them hook up. But once I get together, man, with all those little hairs on the vines, I
Yes.
mean, it's like Velcro times 30, right? They just don't let go. They just don't want to let go.
That's what I'm thinking
I'm
about.
afraid of like damaging the vines, trying to unwrap them from stuff.
Yes.
Like, no, there's the stuff that went up to the top, but there's stuff all over the brew area out there, just like wrapping around the railing on the first level. Forget about it.
Yeah. I'd say like just or you're getting cones, let the thing lie and just
Yeah, right.
let
right.
the cones grow. And
I didn't even trim back too many of the initial shoots this year. Once I got going, I only trimmed back a few. I said, I'm just going to let this thing go as much as possible. Because this is the second year. I wanted to put out as much foliage as possible.
Yeah.
And just get as much energy into the root ball. I want to make that strong root ball because I want to break it apart into more plants.
Well, we got to say thanks to Jeff Ellis because
Jeff Ellis.
you know, he's given us some funding, which is not a prerequisite or mandatory or anything like that, but we'll take it. Thank you very much. That helps keep the channel alive for sure. You know, we got a long comment. Someone talking about
Yeah.
harvesting hops.
A month earlier than the past years, Chinook. Oh yeah, my favorite is Fuggles and some Cascades.
That reminds me of something I'll talk about later.
So the question is, any insight as to why he harvested them a month earlier? Here in Pennsylvania, we've gotten hammered with rain.
Yep. I think that
Climate change, man.
I would say that season in and season out, my harvest month is different, and really it depends on the kind of summer you had.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have had dry summers, and it's taken a lot more time for the hops to mature. I think in other summers like this one, I think that my Chinook vines were ready to go, and that was like the first week in August. And I was freaking out because there were some that were going, turning brown, dying, and of the 3 that I have, that's the one that I'm the most excited about brewing with. It has, you know, super cascadey taste to it. Magnum and Nugget I've brewed with before. They're more, you know, Germany, nobly, spicy. They don't really bring a lot of excitement to the beer. They're good for bittering.
This is pretty spicy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, but that has Chinook in it. Like, we
Yeah.
left a lot of Chinook towards the end of the boil. But like Magnum and Nugget, I think I've bittered with them. I've brewed lagers with them. They do bring a lot of that nobly bittering to a beer, but when you're talking about like the late additions, not as vibrant or as pungent as you'd like them to be.
Yeah.
So
I think I'd add too, depending on this adds on to the Buck Hunter's comment, is that I noticed that with my plants, the cones they're bigger and more aggressive this year, and it's a second year of growth. I mean, this one actually the third year. But I think depending on how old your plants are, if they're getting more established, they're going to thrive and grow faster and be more healthy anyway. So
true that.
yeah. Cheers, Thomas Linden.
Cheers. I can finish up this. Any other beers that we have?
This Mike's beer fridge is full of
Mike's
beers.
beer fridge is always filled with beers. We'll drink more of those.
I guess I got to catch up in the live stream.
Well, you've been reading comments.
Oh, okay.
One of the things that somebody left on our announcement video was some guy said, "Hey, I love the hop experiments. I love the hop examinations.
Yeah.
What about yeast?" That's what he was asking about.
I've been dreaming about yeast experiments lately. Yeah, it's a strange thing. Like I lay there and I'm like, oh, what are we gonna do next?
Too much about Mike.
Too much about Mike. Yeah. So yeah, let us know what people want to see for yeast experiments. I think we need to start doing some
We've
side
done
by sides.
some.
We've done some, but I think we could do better
Yeah.
and do more.
Okay.
It's certainly easier than doing hop experiments because you can do one
Right.
batch of
And
beer
split them.
and suddenly you've got 5 yeasts ready to go.
True
right?
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Right, it's
I
much
hear. I
faster.
hear what you're saying.
Much faster.
5 gallons, split 5
We've
ways.
been torturing ourselves with these smash beers.
Oh boy, agreed. I actually have some other. They're not going to be as wacky, unique hops anymore. It's going to be more of like, let's experiment with the ones that we know and compare and contrast between the two. I think it came from what you were saying, like noble hops, comparing those two. But then I have one especially for you.
Yeah. Oh,
Especially for you.
I'm excited.
Yes, and we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that.
We got a comment from Jasper saying he's going to brew a fresh hop beer tomorrow. Was asking for any tips. I mean, I think in basic, for me at least, I think don't be afraid to use a lot of them.
Oh yes.
And if it's way too much, at least you learn something. And if you have some in reserve, then you can adjust the next brew. But you got to just
Agreed.
go for it. I wouldn't worry too much about the bittering, non-bittering type of. I don't want to say myths, but we've already mentioned it today. Just give it a shot. You just go for it.
It's a learning experience.
But for wet hops, you certainly need to really, if you're going to use a fresh hop beer, meaning you haven't dried the hops, use a ton.
Yes, use as many as you
Like
can.
4 or 5 gallon Ziploc bags full. I mean, just go. It's like just fill that thing up with
I
as much
agree.
hop as possible.
Yeah.
And I go for it late. Like use a commercial hop to bitter to be sure, and then go in at like 15 minutes and just start throwing in as much wet hop as you want.
Yeah. So that brings up a great point. The biggest vessel that you have, like the biggest kettle that you have. I mean, he has converted
Kegs.
Yes.
15 gallons.
Yes, they're tall.
Yeah.
I almost asked you to. I was almost going to borrow that for the latest one.
Yep.
But I also, the thing that I did instead was I have small fermentation tanks or bottles, carboys. And I will only plan to get in 3.5 to 4 gallons.
Yeah.
I brewed it to be a 5-gallon batch, but because you're talking about 2 ounces, well, dried, but like with a wet hop, you're probably talking like 6 to 8 ounces of wet hop cones. At the end, so much gets sucked up by the hop cones. You're like trying to siphon it out. Forget about it. You can't. There's no way you can pump it out or whatever because of the cones will get stuck into whatever hole you're going through.
Yeah.
So it's a long process just to transfer a rack from kettle to
Yeah, you gotta
fermenter.
think ahead about that. Yeah.
But if you get the largest kettle you can, mine is only like a 9-gallon kettle, so I do the best I can. But if you have something larger, go for it.
We got a question about from Thomas Linden, yeast for warm (parentheses hot weather brewing).
Oh boy.
I think personally, I've gotten away with some yeast at pretty warm temperatures. Wheat beer actually works really well at like 70 plus.
Yeah, that's what we learned.
Right.
I think a slow start, like meaning like a low start, and bringing it up to high temperatures towards the end of fermentation.
Believe it or not, I think like USO 5 dry fermentus yeast at high temperatures will can produce some peachy flavors. So to be honest with you, if you're doing a big double IPA with some modern day hops, they would fit right in. Obviously Saison yeast goes pretty good at high temperatures. Mateo F said Kvik yeast for hot weather, no temperature control. So that's definitely something that you can try too. I think that it depends on how hot we're talking. If we're talking about getting up over 80 degrees, you probably want to stay in the Saison range, but depending on what you're brewing, I've noticed you can get away in the 70s with most yeast strains. If you want a super expressive English yeast, then go for it at 75 degrees, 78 degrees, should probably work out just fine. We got another question from Kenny Grayley, asking us if we've ever used hop shots.
Not yet.
Not yet. And nor have we used any cryo hops yet, right?
I have
You
cryo
That's what I
hops.
thought. As I said, you have
I
some.
have them,
Okay.
but I haven't used them. That's actually a good reminder. To
So
use
those are
that.
two things that we're curious about. We have to sort of force ourselves into brewing more of these hoppier things because we tend to, our default for beers we make for ourselves tend to be more on the malty side. But these are cool things to experiment with, and I've been thinking about those hop shots lately too. So that's definitely something to put on the list. Keep bugging us about it until we do it, and do it right.
We'll do it. Hopefully we do it right.
Yes, David Jennings checking in from Scotland.
Yes, I see that, and then a fellow Red Sox fan from Maryland. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. This is an Allagash White because you were talking about Belgian wits and
Yep. Oh yeah.
should compare. Do you still have any wit?
I have plenty of wood. Yeah, we can pour some of that.
All right.
We can pour that. Cool. Yeah. So what's next for brewing? What's everybody else brewing out there these days?
Yeah, that's a good question because I don't know.
Okay, this is good. Jeff Ellis asks, Deserted Island, only one of your recipes. Which would it be
crap.
for John and Mike?
Crap.
I would
You
probably
start.
brew.
Brown ale.
I would.
Oatmeal stout.
Brown ale. Brown ale.
Really?
Brown ale.
Okay.
I think it's versatile enough around to do any season. I would drink brown ale anytime, all the time, especially if I knocked it down to like session strength.
Mm.
And to be honest with you, the brown ale isn't something that we've hit a lot on the site per
No.
se. It's a recipe I'm still developing. I think one of my most established recipes is cream ale. I like that the most. But brown ale for sure. If I felt as good about a brown ale recipe as I do about my cream ale recipe, that would be my Desert Island beer. If that's not too complicated.
Of my beers that I brew, I think I really, of course, love my Vienna Lager, so I think I'll pick that one. I think that's the one I'll pick. Does that Desert Island have refrigeration? That's the question.
Yeah.
If not, then I don't know. I like malty ales as well. Trying to think. Like, I think we would probably scrape something together with like different hops and stuff.
Yeah.
I like a good porter, you know. But again, Desert Island, I mean, it's gonna be like 90 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny all the time.
Yeah.
You know, probably need something a little lighter than that.
Yeah. So we've got 2 people working on pumpkin ale right now.
Oh wow.
Um,
That's the time.
we got Clifton is working on a milkshake IPA out there right now
Nice.
today. Tim West has brought up brewed IPA soon. He's brewing he wants to brew one of those soon. Kenny Grayley +1 for the brown ale.
That's awesome.
What do you think of lactobacillus and session beer? Well, I would say this. Berliner Weiss is
Right.
the classic example of a lactobacillus-driven
that.
session beer.
True
So similar to this, wheat beer with a little lactobacillus at the beginning, and then fermented out the rest of the way with a clean yeast strain. That's the way to go for that one. I love the idea. What's a good recipe for oatmeal blonde, and how much % oatmeal would be good? So I recently experimented with adding oatmeal into my brown ale, which isn't all that earth-shattering. I did do a cream ale with flaked barley not
That's
too
right.
long ago.
Yep, that was good.
So if I was going to extend what I've learned there, introducing oatmeal into anything, I would start at 10 or 12% of the total and go from there. I think that would be a good place to start. You'd probably pick up enough of the smoothness character. It's not really going to taste like much. Maybe it'll taste like something in a blonde ale, but you'll definitely sense the body a little bit, I think. 10 to 12% is a good place to start.
Agreed.
What
about the brute IPA question?
What about it? Brown ales always keep around my brewery. Any thoughts on brewed IPA? Yes. So what about brewed IPA? It's coming. It's something that we've talked about. I mentioned it to John like a month or two months ago.
Probably
I said,
longer.
Hey, there's this brewed IPA thing.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
something
doing it.
We got to do it. We got to do
I
it.
actually bought a kit to do a brewed IPA.
Because it's like right on my chin.
What if we did that
Okay.
instead? All right. No one needs to see me. All right. So we have a brute IPA kit on its way. I bought it from our friendly neighborhood homebrew shop,
Yeah.
Northern Brewer. Not really. But it's on its way. So I think once we get that, we'll do a whole thing on that, because I think that is like the cutting edge of the latest and greatest beer sensation, I guess.
Yes.
In any case, we'll go through it. I was questioning the hops that came with it. It's probably going to be all late stage hop additions with like a weird amount of like enzymes being added into the mash and into the fermenter to I guess get it down to an extreme amount of dryness.
Yeah.
But let's take that process together. How about that?
Do you know what the yeast is in that brewed IPA? Kenny Grayley is asking.
I believe they only presented American ale, typical American ale strains. So your Y Yeast 1056, your White Labs 001. So I actually have some.
I think that makes sense because the secret of a brute isn't necessarily that you've got a yeast strain that's going to go all the way. Although 1056, Chico, those are pretty. It's a pretty aggressive strain, but it really is about really breaking down the complex carbohydrates in the mash during wort production. That's really where the ability to attenuate, to such a high level comes from, is extra enzymes in the mash. I saw Matt Pepe, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, is brewed a Dunkelweizen yesterday for his homebrew club's October party, and Jeff Ellis has already given that one a +1. Dunkelweizen is not something that we've experimented with, but I'm curious about Dunkelweizen. Always have been.
I think I've brewed one.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember it.
And
send us that recipe.
Sure.
We
actually
beer swap us that recipe.
That'd be great. So dudes at brew-dudes.com is our email address. Email us and we can figure out addresses and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Physical home addresses. I saw that wife Warren.
Yeah, wife Warren has.
That's why she wanted the beer out of your face.
Out of my face. Yeah, somebody's watching out for
somebody
us.
Somebody wanted to see your face.
That's right. That's wonderful.
That's a good sign.
Hey, Boat Builder 1 says thanks for posting these videos, and while we're having a good time doing it, we struggle with making advances in our technology base for doing videos and planning out more videos, but.
Yes.
We have a good time doing it, and I'm glad that other people, you guys appreciate it too. So, I was just looking today, I was going through some stuff on the YouTube back end of stuff, and I was like, our first videos were posted like 10 plus years ago. We had some really early ones.
Yes.
Right?
That was because we started the blog in 2007, and then I think we went to like a few beer fests, like we went to one in Maine. I think we posted a video from that. So yes, there have been videos of ours on YouTube for over 10 years.
Yeah, but this format has been running strong for 5 years. Every week for 5 years.
January of 2013.
Who else is doing that?
I don't know. Who else is doing that?
I don't want to know, actually.
Someone's actually doing 2 a week.
I know.
We'll have to get to that level.
All right. Maybe you should just move in over here and we'll just live stream tobrewers.com.
Well, I'm going to work. It's 7 a.m. Got to catch the train. Let's go.
Yes. Just threw some bombers in the fridge, a 3-day chill, soft and juicy New England IPA. First time ever brewing the style. It's from P-Dog79. Well, that sounds awesome. Kenny Grayley mentioned champagne yeast after USO5 to finish out a brewed IPA.
Why not?
Possibly, but I still think the key would be whether or not there's still some carbohydrate left that
for champagne.
It's all about wort production. It's all about wort production for the champagne. Champagne yeast might have a hard time. It has a hard time if there's too much maltose or stuff like that left over. So,
true.
If you were launching a beer brand, what type of beer would you launch as your first beer? What type of beer?
A New England IPA.
Yeah, of course, because it sells.
Because that's the only thing that's.
Because we're not going to drink it, so someone would have to buy it.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Now we're getting a little. Now you're just opening up. The live stream is open.
Well, we're 24 minutes in. That's time to start
honestly
laying it out there.
No, but all jokes aside, I think that
you have to, right?
The beer drinking public wants big IPAs and juicy IPAs, which is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we like those beers. I like those beers. You know what? The one thing I don't like about those beers is most of them, a lot of them are pushing 7.5%, 8% alcohol. I'd really try to be making, I wouldn't be able to call it IPA, but I'd really be trying to capture that essence in like a pale ale format. Something where you could drink 3, 4, 5 of them, really enjoy all that flavor, and not feel completely wrecked, or having 2. And I guess if I was opening a beer brand, getting people to buy 5 versus 2 is the way to go, right?
True that.
So that's an interesting question, which could have a very long discussion.
Mental note,
Mental note.
because we do this every week.
Yes. Do you guys use anything to check pH on kettle souring?
Have we ever done kettle souring?
Not on purpose.
The answer is the answer is no.
No, we haven't
But we
tried kettle
should.
souring.
But
I'm
wouldn't
intrigued
you?
by it. Now that it's cooling off a little bit, like it's
Yeah.
not as ragingly hot.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about, because I got one pot that has a really nice lid. I could kettle sour. I thought about that. I do check. For checking pH, I have been using pH strips for like mash,
Yep.
mash pH,
Sure.
stuff like that. Occasionally beer pH, just because I'm curious about how those things are changing. But I, as a biochemist, professionally trained biochemist, if you want to check pH, the way to go is a pH meter. That's all there is to it. I mean, a genuine pH meter. The pH strips are nice for consistency's sake if you're used to what they read out. But if you're not using them fast enough, the package, they sort of tend to drift a little bit. So I'm a big fan of, if you really want to get into pH, then you got to get yourself a pH meter. A handheld one is nice to start with, but a full-on lab quality pH meter.
Nice.
Way to go.
Have you ever looked into buying one? Like, I know that you have some in your professional gerb.
I've looked into borrowing one. Yeah.
Borrow from the company?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, I
Nice. He's stealing like office supplies.
legitimate borrow. Yeah, no, I've looked into like places like VWR, Fisher Scientific. That's where I would go.
Got it.
You find one and buy one. So.
Right on.
Maybe if I bought like 50 of them at once and got a price discount, then I could open up a section of Brew's store just selling pH meters. You know.
So, why don't you read that one? Which, do you have it on tap, your wit beer?
Who are we talking about here?
We're talking
Doing this,
about Camillo, that right there.
Camillo, priming or artificial carbonation. I'm all artificial all the time. I'm forced carbonation all the time.
Yeah, I think that...
Because I haven't
yes,
bottled in
keg.
a long time.
I bottle certain beers, for sure. So imperial stouts, big beers, I do natural carbonation, I'm priming. Those sour beers that we put together, those are all natural carbonation. So I had to actually measure out corn sugar and figure out what I was going to do. I think it depends on the beer style you're brewing. If you have a keg system, it's so much easier to like just force CO2 into the beer itself and not have to wait as long as you have to when you're doing natural carbonation. The question I had for the audience was, what beer, have you ever brewed a beer and tried to get it ready for a party within a week? Because that's what I've done. That Chinook smash beer I brewed on Saturday last week. It's been in the keg since yesterday, and I've been shaking it to force the carbonation. And it's drinkable. It's great. I think it's young, but I think to me it's something that people will definitely keep hitting the tap because it tastes good enough. It's not tremendous, but at the same time, it's not horrible. It's in that nice safe zone of this is drinkable, and since you have it here and it's yours, and it's also got a good story that you grew these hops in your backyard, you're gonna, people are gonna drink it. Oh, look at that. Let's see, we're gonna do a little taste test between Allagash White and Mike's. It's funny, your beer fridge does not get your beer as cold as your keg fridge.
I think that this beer fridge behind me is about to kick the bucket.
Ah,
I think the
cheers.
intense heat we've had for a while, it's just been running pretty hard. So it is kind of cool. But
That's cool.
I've also got the new air is, I keep screwing around. It's dialed pretty cold. I don't like it that cold, but So, how's this compared to your taste of August, right? Oh, it smells good. It smells like a wit.
It smells great. I don't know. This one has,
Oh, that's pleasant.
you know, they're comparable. I have to say that.
What's interesting is this beer has got none of the like chamomile or spices in it.
Yeah.
It's just a,
But
a wheat beer.
I
with
was going to
wheat
say this has more character.
A little more character, yeah.
But there's some citrus notes I'm pulling out,
Yeah.
even though you didn't put any orange in it.
But remember
What?
this beer at 10 minutes, it was 20 or 10 minutes, received an ounce of Amarillo.
Oh, that's why.
Right, because I was trying to get that to work with the orange peel,
Right.
right? But I never put the orange peel in it. So I think this is a live stream secret. If you want to brew a wit beer that's got that citrus character at the 20 or 10 minute level, you're going to get there without having to add the spices and
That's
stuff.
great.
All right, that's an exclusive to everybody in the live feed.
That's how it goes.
All right, we got a question about from Michael Benedetti. Thoughts on Big Mouth Bubbler Carboy and the lid. You have one of these, right?
Okay, we have to talk about this. So, if you're going to get one, get a glass one. Because a plastic one, every single one of these better bottle type carboys, I will scrape against my cement floor in my basement, and then it will have a crack, and then it will start to seep, and that's not good. So, get a glass one. I actually like the Big Mouth fermenter for my New England IPAs because it makes it very easy to add hops late in the during fermentation, not late. So you're adding like 3 ounces of hops and like 2 charges during the fermentation. So what I've done with that Big Mouth bubbler, there's a screen that goes with it, and it kind of like sits. It comes right in. The screen is probably around like that big around. It sits on top. You add the hops into it, and then it has like a little plunger, like a metal plunger that comes in. You push down, and you make sure that the hops get saturated with your wort, or at that point beer, sorry. In any case, I like it for that application. If you're going to add things to your beer during fermentation, maybe fruit, maybe hops, maybe whatever, and you don't want to have to deal with it when you're racking after fermentation to whatever vessel, maybe your bottling bucket or your keg, awesome. Get a glass one.
Yes.
The plastic ones,
I've heard a lot of people that they don't last long, and the lids sometimes get pushed up and out. I've heard that too.
That happened to me the first two times I brewed the thing. I had to weigh it down.
Yep.
But then it, for whatever reason, it like the seal got better.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why. But I have had great experiences with the Big Mouth bubbler, but because and then the price point is also different.
Yep.
The plastic one is probably half the price of the glass one. But in that brewed IPA that I'm getting shipped to me at some point, it was supposed to come 2 days ago. Not sure where it is. I looked at the tracking info and said, has not been updated. I'm like, great. So when is it coming?
Yeah.
In any case, it's on its way, we hope. I'm getting a glass Big Mouth bubbler because the plastic one I had has a chip in the bottom and seeps. So I just threw that out. Actually, I recycled it because I love the earth. Got a glass one, and I'm pretty sure that the size of the opening is the same as the plastic one.
Yeah.
I'll be able to use the screen and all that. But also the brewed IPA kit is coming with that. So
nice.
that's all I have to say.
All
Next
right.
question.
I'm just going to relate some. Kenny Grayley
Please.
brewed a New England IPA at a local brewery, and they used lager yeast.
Nice.
He said himself, not my favorite style, but it sells. So that's cool. Mark Pepe has given an abbreviated version of the Dunkelweizen recipe,
we'll take that.
So that's great.
Hold on to that.
Thank you very much. Kenny asks, have you guys ever used a RIMS system? If so, any helpful tips? He recently got a used one from Brewer's Hardware.
Boy.
I use direct-fired recirculating mash as a setup in general. I know the last couple of videos where you've seen me brewing, I've been using the cooler again, but I'm working on replumbing my hardware to get back into direct-fired recirculation. I have thought about changing it up to a rims-based system because I have 3 burners, 3 vessels. I think a Hermes might be easier to do because I have an older, smaller wort chiller that I could just put in the hot liquor tank and plumb through it. I'm just not sure. That wort chiller is kind of old, so I'd have to run some stuff through that copper to clean it out. And I don't feel like buying a stainless steel coil at this point in time. So I think rims is awesome. Bring it up again in the future. Keep harassing us about it because I want to hear more and I want to think more about it myself. So drive us a private message and we can have a conversation about it. So I think that's cool. Let's see, where are my rims? Zebul Zimmerman.
Yes,
Brewed a smash beer with wet Cascade hops today. I never had a wet hop beer, so he's taking a page from our book using wet hops to try that out. That's going to be awesome.
Good luck. Brew on.
Ryle 212 did a Chinook smash and it turned out horrible.
I'm sorry for that. But you know what? Brew on.
Is that because you just don't like Chinook, or was something happened in the process?
Who knows?
The
Tell us
right.
more. Yeah.
Michael Benedetti, secondhand keg, purchased, new posts. Our new posts, something I need to buy or just replace O-rings. I would start with the O-rings. It's the easiest thing to do. Whenever I bought used kegs, I would go online and order like 2 or 3 O-ring kits. It's always helpful to have the O-ring kits around. So definitely the big one, and then the small ones around the posts are important.
I need to get a new. I think there's a problem. So I also got some used kegs, and the ones that go around the post. There's one for the out post. I didn't mean that. But like when I've carbonated, that's where what's leaking, and so I need a new ring for that. I think.
Yeah.
Because I've taken off the post, I put it back on, but I think that's worn or something.
When we finish here, let's look through my extra supplies. Maybe I have one you could try. Just now that I'm thinking
That'd be
about
great.
it.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Somebody remind us to do that. Okay.
I'll note it.
So Kenny Grayley, he's been force carving with the 30 psi minutes for 4 minutes while rocking. I think that's great. I like to have a tube with a picnic faucet on hand while I'm doing that method and check it regularly. And once I think the carbonation is almost where I want it to be, I stop and then I let it sit for a while.
Have you ever over-carbonated something?
Absolutely,
in a keg?
absolutely,
Really?
absolutely. And I do think you can sort of taste the CO2 like a carbonic acid when you carbonate really fast and hard, but it settles out eventually. And yes, Jeff Ellis points out one of my favorite websites of people out there, Brewlosophy. They have a chart where they do carbonation methods and how they do it fast. And I've read that several times to refresh myself. Carbonating fast is not hard to do. It's just you tend to overshoot. So just as long as you keep that in mind, you're good. Kenny also mentioned that he uses large paper, those large clamps to hold the lid down, I think, on a big mouth Bob is probably responding to.
Got it.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Thomas Lind just asks, would barrel-aged beer, question mark? I recently asked, so my brother-in-law, who lives behind me,
in the compound,
we if wife Warren's online, just be cool. We have he's got a porch that's a concrete foundation, but it's actually punched through into their basement.
Yeah.
And it is a legitimate root cellar.
Really?
So I said to him one day, because he's really starting to get into more of the craft beer.
He is.
This is a diehard Bud Light drinker. Now all he drinks is double IPAs.
Yeah.
New England IPAs, sorry.
True that.
But I said, hey, if I get myself a 50-gallon barrel, a full barrel, can I put it in your root cellar? He was like, yeah, let's do it.
Of
So
course.
I said, what if I get 2? Right? So we'll see.
Why stay with one?
I don't have any specific experience with full-on wood barrel aging, but I think it would be something fun to try. Let's see. First attempt at Berliner Weiss. Any tips? I would skip over lactobacillus from White Labs, whatever their basic. Because I tried it years ago and it never soured. I think you need to go out to like Giga Yeast or Imperial Yeast or some of these other companies. They've got like lacto, like the Brevis strain specifically is a little more aggressive. You definitely want to pitch that first. Don't mess around with like the idea of like crushed grain in the wort. That's just uncontrollable in my experience. Just get lactobacillus, put it in there, keep it warm. You want it to be like 80 degrees. give it 3 days, taste it, see if it's souring, and then have a starter of clean yeast ready to go to finish it off. It's a style that I've only tried a couple times with not a whole lot of success, but I'm just reiterating a little bit of my experience with what I've read, and I haven't had time to try it myself. Depends on which road you want to go, James. Kettle sour or traditional? Well, of course, Mateo is responding to that, that comment, so maybe Brian and Mateo should hook up and talk about that.
Just talk to each other. That's Mateo saying here. First try. Oh, he's talking more about kettle sour.
Yeah. First try, would you kettle sour? Yeah, kettle sour. You know, kettle souring is this growing thing of way of quickly souring without exposing the rest of your fermentation equipment, the rest of your racking equipment stuff, or and your kegs with live cultures. I think there's definitely some value in that for sure. Kettle souring for that reason. So kettle drop 50%. It's already dropped to 4.5 pH. Yeah. Just
sorry.
follow that. That sounds great.
I don't think he has to be sorry.
No.
All right, we have less than 20 minutes to go. Any other questions?
Keep it rolling.
Yeah, man. So when are you going to do your malt experiments? Because that was something you were like, I'm going to push for this 2018. And like now it's...
Before the year is out, we will do some sort of moderately epic base malt comparison. And then I have some other ideas where I want to take a recipe, let's say brown ale, or I've always wanted to do this with oatmeal stout, so I'll use that. Oatmeal stout, and my oatmeal stout recipe has, say, like 6 ingredients in it. What I wanted to do was brew 7 beers. This is a lot, but
do it.
Brew the beer, but then brew subsequent beers missing one of the ingredients. And just taste all those beers side by side. So we'll see you in about 9 months, and with that, that's why. Like, I think that would be tremendous. If I can figure out how to scale it down to like the 2-gallon size effectively, so I certainly don't need like 8 5-gallon batches of oatmeal stout where there's an ingredient missing from every single one of them except for the one.
Yeah.
But that would be a pretty cool idea. Jeff Ellis asks about a brew day playlist.
We can put that together.
Yes.
We need to go through all our videos,
Yep.
figure out which ones were a brew day, and then make a playlist.
So we need more brew days. I think people would agree with that.
Yep.
But full-length brew days get pretty long as far as video content goes.
Yeah.
So I think if people want to see more brewing in action, this is something that we struggle with for content, is maybe focusing on bits and pieces of individual brew days.
Yeah.
Because I think like 20 brew days later, it'll just be like, oh, here's another brew day, because it doesn't really change all that much.
I'm putting the grain into the mash tun now.
Yeah.
Isn't this exciting? I think that would be interesting to see different portions of it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, I have this huge beer that I'm making, and now this is what I'm doing to mill it.
I do have a monster
like that.
kitchen sink beer coming up very soon. As soon as I figure out what I'm going to ferment it in, I will pull it together. So I'm going to tape some of that one. So sure. I knew it. I knew this is what Jeff Ellis meant. Playlist meaning what music do you listen to on Brew? I knew that's what he meant. I felt it inside me.
Then why didn't you say something?
Well, because we started.
You should have slapped me in the face.
You went into it, and I just
Doesn't
said,
matter.
I was going to circle us back. I was going to circle us back and say, or.
Tell me what's in your heart, Michael.
Okay. Well, I think for me,
Led Zeppelin.
when I'm brewing at my best,
Done.
I'm brewing late at night.
Oh boy, really?
Outside, which is weird because I'm a morning guy.
Yeah, whatever.
But I brew late night, and so I usually really don't have music going. It's terribly sad. But I don't want to. I can't like disturb anybody. Besides, you know what? When it's late night like that, it's I get into a very zen thing where it's just me and the grain and the burners and the hops, and we talk. We talk it out there. So you listen to Zeppelin?
I do.
Are you doing earphones? Do you have like? Are you set
Spotify,
up?
and then I do my little wireless speaker. But that's typically like so. Even though I wouldn't consider myself a morning guy, that's when I'm most productive.
Yeah.
I wake up early so I can like get my brew done, and then also have family time on the weekend.
Yeah.
Per se. So there's some music that gets played. But like if I have time to schedule, and I do like afternoon, we play music, and that's a great one to play.
Yeah. I will tend to do beer podcasts, but I used to listen to beer podcasts while I brewed.
Really?
But then I would get distracted by the brewing, or I would get distracted by the podcast, and one or the other would suffer. So I stopped doing that.
Needless music.
My mind is pretty much one track. I can't
You
focus.
can't multi.
I can't focus. I get distracted easily.
Yeah.
Task. Any other, speaking of distractions, Mateo asks, do we have any other hobby outside of brewing? I'll take that one.
do?
Yeah. So we both are very much into cooking, right? We don't, I think lately my cooking
I don't have a cooking
has
YouTube
come
channel.
down. No, we're not doing that yet. We both tinker with small scale home barbecuing,
Yeah, I like
which
that.
hasn't really made it to the channel yet.
Yes, we will.
I'm also, sort of screw around from time to time with, I've got dreams of becoming a better woodworker. So I do have some woodworking equipment in my garage, and that guy, the CNC
You gotta do
machine.
better than that.
I got to, but that's not going to happen. Woodworking a little bit too. So, let's see. So next question, which is going to be an awesome question. Clifton Radabar is doing a strawberry blonde ale next week. Extract with real fruit. With extract or real fruit, when should I add it?
Nice. I actually just
Go for
made.
it.
I just made a strawberry wheat a week ago, and so use real fruit. Go to your favorite grocery store, get 3 pounds because I think depends on where you are, but where I am from, they have 3 pounds of frozen strawberries ready to go in a pack. You buy that, you let that sit at room temperature, let it defrost, come up to room temp. It's going to be a little messy, but it's okay. Wrap it in a towel. It's fine. So when I added it after 3 days, like the same thing I would do with hops. After 3 days of fermentation, I added in a fine mesh bag so the seeds didn't get through. I added all 3 pounds of those strawberries into it, and it's in that line of like there's some strawberry flavor, but it's not too strong. So you play that line of like, I don't like fruit beers, but I think there's like 2 camps of people. I don't like beer, but this fruit beer is great. And then there's I don't like fruit beer, but this is a good beer. So you figure it out. That's what I've done. I've used real fruit from the grocery store, frozen fruit, so that all the membranes break down, and then when they come up to room temperature, you add that to your beer. But make sure you get a fine mesh strain bag. Hopefully you have a homebrew store that's nearby, and you can buy that. Sanitize it clearly, but then open up your fermenter. If you aren't fermenting in a bucket or something with a large mouth, get one, or at least move it to something where it's very easy to put a bag in, because that's what I did, and it came out great. And I was able to, like, when I racked it to carbon in a keg, was able to pull out the bag and everything was fine. Not a lot of problems.
I think I'd add to that, especially strawberry blonde is something that I think if you dig way back in our archives,
people still see that recipe and find it.
I think fruit in general, I think late in primary is a good place to put it. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention Oregon fruit purees.
Yes.
I think a combination of one of their big cans, a few fruit puree, and some fresh fruit.
Yes.
Because sometimes it's hard to get fresh fruit in season, or to get quantity in season, or it can just get expensive. So like a big can of their strawberry puree, and then 2 or 3 quarts at least of fresh strawberries, I think would really work well there too. So the cool thing about the puree is the bag thing. That stuff tends to settle a little bit, and you can kind of work with it a little bit.
And also, it's been pasteurized too.
It's been pasteurized, yeah.
If you're freaking out about there's microbes on those fruits, use a puree and you're fine.
Yep.
Next question.
Next good question is somewhat of a transition from fruit beer, but here's a question. What's your favorite style for breakfast beer?
Oatmeal stout.
Oatmeal stout. No, I would say I haven't focused on brewing a lot of breakfast beers, but like maple porters.
Oh, that's a good one.
To be honest with you, like any type of bourbon stout, dark bourbon, something or other. I'll grab one of those Maine Beer Company beers.
All right.
If you want.
Okay.
I also think, to be honest with you, like a raspberry sour would work well. Like some of those fruited sours would work well to cut through like some of the fattiness and some of the breakfast stuff you'd be having if you're having like an event. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's the basic idea. I think oatmeal stout with some maple syrup in the recipe or vanilla, those types of beers. Almost, I think dessert beers work well for breakfast beers.
Nice.
Sound good? Show the good people that.
Okay, so that is the Maine Brewing Company. Post-ride snack,
Post-ride snack.
because that's what you need after riding your bike.
I'm taking this away so I can pour some. Do you use brewing software, and if so, which? I'll give my short answer is yes. I use Beersmith. No, I do not use it all the time. I use it to normally like screw around and sort of idea jam recipes in my brain. I do sort of like it as a way of keeping track of recipes, but I'm not as dedicated to it as I used to be. When Beersmith 1 first came out, I was religious about the brew log. I used the shopping list, stuff like that. Beersmith 2, I've sort of used it less, but I still log in if I want to screw around with ideas and keep track of ideas. I've sort of gotten more used to just writing recipes down on the day of brew day, because often what I put in the software and what's available at the store sometimes changes. So on brew day, I'm writing down the actual ingredients I have versus the recipe I put into Beersmith. What do you do?
I don't. I use beer tools sometimes to calculate recipes.
Online. So you use online.
Online,
Yep.
and then a free account. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's all I do. The next question is actually a good one. Do you see that one?
I'm curious about what you guys do for a living.
So you talk.
We're destitute. We don't do anything. No, YouTube pays for all of this. We're actually in a travel trailer. No, this is, so I mentioned it before, and we've sort of talked before. I am a biochemist by education and cell biology. I work for a small oncology company doing cancer research.
And I'm in online marketing, and that's all you need to know.
Wonderful.
Yay.
Have you guys tried anything from Tioga Sequoia Brewing?
I have not.
Neither have I.
What's the verdict?
Sounds
I'm sure
great.
it's tremendous.
Yeah, what's the verdict? Yeah, it's great. Send us some, and we'll let you know.
Yes, actually. Email us at dudes@brewdadsudes.com.
Camilo comes back and says, that was P-Dog79 again. Camilo asks, what drinkability style do you recommend to sell in a brew pub? Well, cream ale would be huge. I think any session brown ale, Irish dry stout is sessionable, but blonde ale, cream ale, things called extra pale ale, I don't even know what that means, but you see it a lot of places. Table saison, if you wanted to get crazy. Wit beer is a good one.
Really? So drinkability style, okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And then I would even in these days, a nice American pale ale.
Yes.
At like 5.5%.
5.5%. I would ask for 5%, but 5.5 is okay. Kenny Grayley mentioned Zoe from Maine Beer Company. I like Zoe as well. It's very good. We also have a bottle of lunch up there, and I've got a bottle of Mean Old Tom up there.
Mean Old Tom.
So this is what John grabbed. I should have directed him towards it, but I haven't had this before. This is nice.
Oh yeah.
This is nice.
Why not have a
I love these bottles
right?
too. These bottles. I have a couple more of these bottles too. These are nice heavy bottles.
I agree, and also just the shape and size.
Yeah.
It makes it unique.
Yes.
Right?
Right. Yeah. People asking about, what would you do? I mean, this is something in owning a brewery and trying to be a little bit different. Bottles like this, steal this idea from Maine Beer Company.
Well, even a little, Allagash White.
Coffee Kolsch from Mr. Hayden is a pretty solid breakfast, too. Kind of off the track of darker stout porter. No, I think I had a Coffee Kolsch at a brewfest or something not too long ago, and I'm not a coffee drinker. We've discussed that many times. But I had a couple where I'm like, yeah, it sort of works. It sort of works for me. I can get into that. Let's see. Jeff Ellis says, always looking for new content. What other YouTube channels do you guys watch regularly, beer or not beer related? Oh, where do I start? Do you first lay it out while I get my thoughts?
Oh
collected.
man, you know what? The one that that I've been watching. There's a claw hammer. I think I don't know what they're doing over there. It's like a claw hammer brew shop or something. They have a YouTube channel. They've got like 21,000 subscribers.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive, and I think I know why. I'm gonna keep that secret to myself, but they do a lot of different things. They do a lot of brewing sessions and such.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see what they're doing. Outside of that, I don't know. I like actually following people who follow us. So I've been watching a lot of different.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Right. I've tried to track back and forth sometimes too. Just and
MSK Chess. Boom. That guy.
Yeah.
That guy.
So beer related, I still watch. Occasionally, I tune into.
Don Osborne.
Yes. So Don Osborne, Chop and Brew. I watch.
Basic Brewing.
Basic Brewing. They put out videos, with less frequency.
They're doing a cucumber IPA.
They must be watching our stuff.
I think they're doing a cucumber IPA.
That sounds great.
Someone actually said that. Yeah.
Yes. Who else? I do occasionally like to go back and check out Craig Tube, just because he's a legacy, longtime guy. Let's see. Beer. Hops and Barley TV.
Yep.
That guy is killing it. It's pretty good. I used to watch a lot of. Used to watch Life of Brian Mujati. His editing skills are something to aspire to, and he recently totally trashed his channel. So go look. Encourage him to get back into the video game.
Dude,
but
what happened?
it's tremendous.
What about the Urban Farmer dude? Because
I watch a ton of that guy.
Yeah.
Because
that comes up as a suggested video every time I log on. I'm like,
Oh, really?
I'm not watching that.
Oh, I love the Urban Farm. So non-beer related, I watch a lot of home gardening stuff.
Yeah.
Semi-pro gardening stuff.
Yeah.
I watch a decent amount, some woodworking stuff. Jackman Works, one of the timber framing guys, stuff like that. I watch a handful of sailing videos.
Sailing?
Yeah, sailing. Sailing La Vagabond. You've got to check it out. Those guys are awesome.
These are things that you're learning at the same time I am. Just so you know.
Delos.
Actually, gardening is a hobby.
Gardening. Actually, we both. Yeah.
We both grow stuff in our backyard.
We both grow stuff. Yeah.
Not just hops, but vegetables and things we
stuff.
eat.
Yeah, that's a growing thing for us. No pun intended.
Hey,
that just sort of slipped out.
Come on.
All right.
We're running out of time. We've got less than two.
Time.
We've got 2 minutes. To
Check out Brew. Oh, Genus Brewing. Yep. What other channel? Okay. I kegged it stays on 2 days, so I don't have keg in my space. If a keg is carbonated, it doesn't have to stay in the fridge to stay carbonated. As long as it's sealed up, it will stay carbonated. Done. Check out Genus Brewing, their homebrew shop turned brewery. I've heard of those guys. Their videos are very good and very informative.
Check out.
Journey with Jono, check that out. I haven't heard of that one. We'll check that out. Craig Tube, yep. Always looks confused, but he's cool as hell. I agree with you 100%.
That's the best comment.
I'm just waiting for the Canadian equivalent of the FBI to come kick his door down. I love that guy. He's tremendous. He's tremendous because he's been on for so long. Harry Brew 69. I think I have heard of that guy. There's a lot of great people out there doing YouTube. I think the things that I'm drawn to the most on YouTube are people who do just great editing. I also watch Casey Neistat because his editing is tremendous.
Casey Neistat. The
CEO of Patreon recently did a video trying to reach out to Casey, and you should check it out.
Huh.
It's YouTube search for Patreon CEO Casey Neistat. You will find this video, and the editing is tremendous. What are your thoughts on taking wort from the kettle, cooled and freshly brewed, then pitching onto an old yeast cake? I've done it plenty of times in the past. It works great. Depends on what you mean by old yeast cake. I mean, what I like to do is, if I want to reuse a yeast cake, I plan the brew session around the transfer of the beer. So I will transfer the beer off of the yeast, provided it hasn't sat in the yeast for 4 extra weeks, transfer off into a keg or start bottling, and then the wort on the yeast cake. I would only do that once because then the yeast cake gets pretty big. I would get yourself a mason jar next time, take some of it, and then pitch that because it's just gonna be too much yeast. Yeast washing was something that was requested, which we need to talk about.
Yeah.
In order to do yeast washing, we need some yeast. So we have to, I gotta brew some beer and we'll do yeast washing. So that's coming too.
I've done a lot of that racking onto yeast cakes, and I think that's what my redemption lager was all about, because I had brewed a lager. It was not that great, but the second iteration, when I cooled that wort, like racked to a different vessel, and put the cool wort on that, that made a tremendous lager. So yes, do it all the time.
So black and orange for life. One day it's sat. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. I would just go for it.
Ryan W says hi. We say hi back.
Hey Ryan.
And one day it's sat. Okay.
Yeah, one day it's sat. That's how long his yeast cake's sat.
Okay.
So.
Well, I think that's it. We said we'd be here for an hour, and our hour is done. Actually, we're probably, because we were 2 minutes early, just because, we had to set things up.
Yep.
And here we are. So, one more question. Using all of the yeast, or move some?
So
No,
if you
using
don't
all
want
of
to
it.
just go in the cake, using all of it one time isn't a big deal. But I would recommend then, if you have the ability to do this, boil, sanitize, whatever, a mason jar, like a pint mason jar, or even a pint glass. Get a good scoop of what's in there, wash the fermenter, and pitch that in the wort. Or if you have another fermenter, it'd be even better, just wort in there and then scoop in and go. There's a lot of ways to do it, and as long as you're sanitary, you'll be fine. So, cool.
All right, thanks, guys. Keep up the great videos. We'll try.
We're doing our best.
We got up to 40 plus people on the old live thing.
It's tremendous.
And but I thought we'd get more because we said, like, hey, we're going to be live at noontime Eastern. And we've done live streams where we haven't said anything.
Yeah.
And we've been a little higher.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe, noontime on a Sunday Eastern time.
It's a holiday weekend here in the States,
People are probably, like, having better, having more fun doing other things.
We're going to keep having fun today.
Yeah, we are.
We're going to have some fun.
Absolutely.
We're going to your house.
We're going to have a party at my house. You're going to drink some beer.
Yes.
You're going to drink my Chinook Smash that's like just over a week old.
Awesome.
Like I was going to say, like I actually brewed this last Saturday, and we're drinking it the next Sunday. Are you kidding me? In 8 days?
I'm ready.
It's nuts.
I'm ready.
You're going to be like, oh, this is awful. Thank you. You're just going to pour this down the drain.
Yes. I'm just going to say to Camillo, look up beer gas. It's 75% nitrogen, 25% carbon dioxide.
Beer gas.
You can't really carbonate fully on nitrogen, but
Camillo.
Beer gas is what it's called. It's a
Appreciate
blend.
that.
I haven't done it yet. Stay tuned. I want to get a stout faucet.
I hope more people will come next time, because that's, kind of part of it.
I think we do this a little bit more frequently. We dedicate ourselves to an hour.
Yeah.
It's a small commitment for our families. It's a small commitment for everybody else. Like, we can all carve out time, and we can do it. Next time we'll do a 2 a.m. live cast and see what happens.
Everybody on that side of the earth will be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Nobody from New Zealand, thankfully.
Yes.
But a lot of Australians. And there was one person from Australia. Unfortunately, he stayed up. He's
probably falling asleep at the keyboard now.
He probably fell asleep within the first half hour, because that's our effect on people.
Yeah. Once I started talking about cream ale again, that was the end of that.
It's like, oh yeah, that beer you brewed 10 times in 10 years.
Yes. Awesome.
All right. Appreciate the time.
We could sit here all day.
We could sit here all
Short
day.
Circuit and Brewers. Cheers. Woo.
Oh, well,
All
I love
right.
that guy. All right.
Talk about YouTube channels that we watch.
God.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, that's all we got. Thank you so much. We got to go. Appreciate it. And, as we say, brew on and
Cheers.
cheers.